Well, good afternoon to our early and on-time joinees. We are very pleased to see you and thank you for taking the time to come and listen to our expert talking about the IB today. We are going to give it a few more minutes to allow any latecomers to join us. So we will possibly be looking to start in 2 or 3 minutes. So if I could ask for everyone's patience, please. We will be with you very shortly. Thank you very much. Once again, welcome to everybody. We can see the panel list slowly climbing up. We are grateful to see everyone who is here, some old faces, plenty of new faces. Thank you very much to everyone for taking the time. I think we're going to give it one more minute. We'll start at 3 minutes past the hour. Thank you very much. Okay, I think that is a good time to begin. So, once again, welcome to everyone joining us on today. We have a special edition of Britannica Education Asia's webinars. Today, we are featuring Britannica Education in a global webinar setting. I'm very pleased to be joined by our esteemed colleague Laura, who is joining us from London very early in the morning for her. And she is going to be addressing a vitally important topic, not just in Asia, but the world over, and specifically to the unique nuances of the IB curriculum. And what she's going to be discussing and really helping our IB educators and partners with today is AI integration and understanding really the challenges and the opportunities this brings. I think very much in the zeitgeist discussion at the moment, many people are either focused on the challenges or the opportunities. So we're very excited to have Laura join us today and speak to our Asian prospects and clients and partners about really where is IB going in this information and AI age, and how is artificial intelligence going to be driving, and how is artificial intelligence going to be hindering, in some instances, perhaps, the next 10 years of education. And Laura is really going to try and help you all to navigate this with some strategies and some of her expertise, which are very far and very wide in this area. So we're very lucky and very grateful to have her joining us. And with that, I will hand over to you, Laura. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christopher, and good morning, fellow educators. It's an absolute delight to see you, and it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Laura Ligori. I am the head of curriculum for Britannica Education. I joined about 15 months ago, 16 months ago now. Prior to that, I was an international educator for 21 years, British qualified teacher, but also a PYP teacher, and I've had the absolute privilege of working in outstanding IB World schools. I have been teaching, I was leading schools as well, and part of my responsibilities since 2011 have been the integration of technology, including AI, robotics, coding, and I've been able to see across outstanding schools how that's really transformed curricula, but also the challenges educators have faced in successful implementation and embedding of technologies in the context of curricula and specifically the IB. In my current role, I work with hundreds of educators globally and governments, advising on how to integrate technologies, learning technologies, including artificial intelligence, within their schools to achieve what is most important for all, that the children continue to make excellent academic progress and they're well prepared for a future beyond the current educational setting, but also including the presently the lessons they are taking and what they are learning. We are in an AI world, and how do we equip them while also maintaining the balance of those human skills and capabilities, which are so important. So, what I will do is a couple of things that we do have a large number of attendees, and please feel free to put any questions you may have in the chat box. I believe everyone has access to that, and we will be keeping an eye on that. At the end of my presentation, we will definitely be answering questions, and Christopher will be showing you a potential solution that is AI driven that could facilitate and support your strategies for AI integration. We'll also have at the end a very, very brief feedback survey. What is important for that about us as we continue to give webinars globally, we want to make sure that what we are talking about is useful and relevant to educators. So by the end of this webinar, hopefully you'll have a lot more information about the challenges and opportunities AI is presenting to educators across the IBO world and some very specific strategies to support you in your teaching. We will also be giving to you a pack of strategies. You'll see those in the slides. There's a lot of content. Please don't worry. We will be sending you those slides so you can straight away take those strategies to try them out in your classrooms. So I will now share my screen and continue with the webinar. So we are looking at today the opportunities and challenges in the context of the IB. We will look at more specifically the PYP, MYP, and DP, because we realize we have educators from across the three programs of the IB. I think I just mentioned about myself. And so I want to start with a video that may inspire you or maybe be a little bit uncomfortable, because everybody talks about the future and skills of the future, but the reality is the future is now. AI is still kind of new, but it is progressing at a very rapid pace. And there are skills, critical skills, that children will need to learn to be prepared for the future. There are some schools that are extremely future ready at the moment, not all. Some are in different stages of development. But I wanted to share with you for just a couple of minutes an example of a school which is getting future ready and how they're doing that. So it'll be about 3-4 minutes.
This is the future of education. World-class teaching meets cutting-edge facilities to create an unprecedented learning experience. Purposeful innovation in every aspect of the school, from architecture to AI integration, delivers values-led education in an environment like no other in the world.
Welcome to tomorrow. Welcome to GEM's School of Research and Innovation. As a global hub for educational research, GEM's School of Research and Innovation optimizes teaching and learning by harnessing the power of AI and technology. With well-being and happiness at the heart of their mission, the school goes beyond conventional boundaries to deliver a truly holistic education experience.
At its heart are the school's values that nurture all students to be pioneering, empathetic, and challenge global issues with care. The Family First movement bolsters this approach together with parents to sustain strong family values.
The entire school has been meticulously designed as an enhanced sensory experience, Dedicated reading and play spaces transform into innovative spaces to give learners an optimal environment to thrive. Specialist primary spaces for technology, design, sports, and the arts offer unmatched opportunities for young minds. Unique STEM labs, disruption labs, and a research centre, paired with collaborative tech spaces, provide an immersive and innovative environment that will redefine education.
The visionary leadership team, made up of world-class educationalists, ensures all teachers are handpicked for their expert subject knowledge, their passion for education, and their ability to coach children to pursue their passions at their full potential.
The enhanced British curriculum blends core subjects with specialist languages, arts, sports, engineering.
So I will stop that there. I think what is, for me as an educator, a key message here is that, okay, the school is very innovative and they're working toward preparing the children for the future through their educational journey. However, there's great importance on maintaining those human capabilities as well, because whilst AI is getting deeper into our lives within the educational setting and beyond, we always have to keep in mind, have the children keep in mind, that we need to drive the AI. The AI is not going to drive us. And so if we take the notion of why is this important in the context of the IB, it is very, very important in the context of the IB because I'm just trying to move my bar. There we go. There is a very clear strategy that the IBO has put in place, or a vision more than a strategy. And as you can see by the IBO's Director General, he feels that AI and other digital technologies are reshaping education with the same force as the arrival of electricity and the dawn of the internet. This transformation brings opportunities and challenges that demand the IB redefine its role and ambition in the digital space. And so whilst in the context of the IB, we know it's inquiry-driven exploration, and particularly at the PYP level, we know that children need to have also those hands-on experience during their inquiry. However, throughout the IB, there's a recognition that the children are using the technology. The technology can serve education when it indeed can close the gap between digital systems previously used. It can close gaps in the sense that the technology is supportive of the advances in the IB curriculum. It is not dividing or slowing the advances of the acquisition of knowledge, and it is also supporting inquiry. Also, the IB has a 2032 strategy. If you haven't read about it, I would encourage that. But it is very strong on enabling the digital innovation. Digital innovation, in fact, at the top, there was a post-16 paper recently published for the DP, and top of the list in terms of what the IBO would like to see is the integration of digital technologies in the DP. But of course, they'd like to see it throughout. And the IBO is now encouraging collaboration with edtech companies such as Britannica to make sure that these edtech companies are fully supporting the values and learning goals of the IB. And this, you can see, the source is Co-Creating Our Future, a new digital blueprint for the IB ecosystem. You can read about it there. So what are the critical skills students need for the future? These are the critical skills here to the left. This has been determined through research, academic research at universities, corporations speaking to one another, higher education, as well as educators in K through 12 primary and secondary settings. Why are these core skills so important? As you can read alongside cognitive and analytical, that involving critical thinking, problem solving, digital and AI, creation and innovation, the social and emotional capabilities, the global and ethical considerations, and lifelong learning. So why does it matter? Humans will be interpreting the AI in order to use it best to support whatever they're learning or jobs they'll be in the future. And we have to accept that nearly all jobs will use AI tools in some form or another, and the children need to be digitally literate in order to use those tools. They have to maintain their sense of creativity And they need to understand that their own human capabilities are so important. And we'll go into this a bit later. We want to make sure that effective AI tools are compliant, they are safe, and that every child can have access so that we have an equitable education, which is wholly inclusive. We, as educators, need to continue on the journey of lifelong learning and model it for the students. So we will also be using AI to demonstrate its use and the importance of it with balance. So, having a look, do the challenges outweigh the opportunities? All the educators I speak to, there is a 50-50 in educators' minds about, is it really well worth it? And so, having a closer look, let's look first at the opportunities. What does it bring to education? And this is a more generalist sense, and it can, of course, applies to IB. This is from a study, a very recent research study that you might want to access and read. The IBO Director General was very, very active in this study, A New Direction for Students in an AI World by the Center for Universal Education at Brookings, and it's just come out in January 2026. You can read more about it, but these are the key highlights. It was determined in this study that AI can optimize teacher time for greater focus on students. AI can indeed improve student learning, and it can advance assessment, and we'll look at each in turn. So we know there are a multitude of AI tools out there for teachers to help with a range of tasks that they do every single day. And it can be an ideal productivity tool because what it can do, the right tool, is prioritize teaching by reducing workload on non-student facing tasks. That gives, and we know in the IB that the role of the teacher is facilitator and guiding while children engage in inquiry-based studying. So when the teacher has more time to focus on those interactions in the classroom, in the inquiry taking place in the classroom, this helps to build their relationships with the students, to monitor progress, to give a more personalized learning experience through individualized feedback. And where there are gaps in knowledge progression and attainment, they have more time for more specialist targeted interventions because AI would have done the heavy lifting on some of the non-teaching relating tasks. But how can it improve student learning? And I must say, I was very surprised by the outcomes of this study myself, pleasantly surprised. The key here is AI has to be used in a pedagogical approach in developmentally appropriate ways. It cannot be add-ons. It cannot be randomly integrated into units of inquiry or disciplinary subjects or interdisciplinary subjects. Teachers really have to sit down and think where it may be most useful. When it's strategically embedded in a way that it's really going to enhance knowledge, conceptual understanding, the study has found that AI-related tools can improve reading comprehension because AI tools can differentiate reading texts and engage students in a reading process. And what was interesting about this is when you have some tools where there are reading comprehensions activities, children tend to feel a bit less shy about reading. And because it's interactive, they tend to engage more in the reading. This makes them feel more confident to practice questions of which AI can be adapted to their needs. And then what they can do is when they're in a whole class situation practicing their reading, they feel more confident and they engage more. AI can also improve writing. So as long as the initial ideas and the creativity are coming from the children themselves, the AI can give instant feedback on grammar, spelling, sentence construction, taking some of the cognitive load off of the writing. But we're going to talk more about that in terms of a challenge and an opportunity. Advancing assessment. Now, we know within the IB, there's a range of assessment at the PYP level. It's maybe rubrics. It's mainly formative. There may be some summative quizzes based in subjects such as perhaps mathematics, but it is wholly inquiry based. And we know that how that is assessed. As we go into the MYP, assessments are becoming more ingrained in the MYP. And we also know that scenario-based testing or more reasoning-based and problem-based testing is becoming more popular, as well as in the DP. And of course, those all important examinations at the end of the DP. We know that educators are very keen on mock assessments prior to taking those final examinations. AI can support with all of this, the right AI tool, and it can instantly create assessments, generate test items, automatically grade, provide summative data, and provide a whole diverse range of assessments, including problem solving and reasoning. The only problem that the IB educators are having is that the AI now can produce assessments that are more problem solving and reasoning based rather than recall. It can do recall as well. But then when we get to the traditional paper pencil testing, that's still primarily based on recall, although that is progressing with the IB as well. So if we look at the challenges, of which there are many, the study found that indeed AI can undermine students' cognitive development, it can impede their social and emotional development, and erode agency. And we know how important student agency is in the context of the IB. So they explored the notion of cognitive offloading and cognitive decline. And summing this up is that the AI is more frequently used these days by students to have them write something for them or answer a question for them. And they're offloading their critical thinking skills, which can lead to cognitive decline. And so, what the challenge of the educator is to teach them how to write prompts whereby the AI will give them information for thinking about and critically analyzing rather than handing them a question. And I thought this quote was very interesting when it says, use liberally, AI is not a cognitive partner, it is a cognitive surrogate. It does not accelerate children's cognitive development, it diminishes it. So we're not saying that AI cannot enhance cognitive thinking and higher order thinking skills and inquiry. It can, it just has to be used effectively to do so. Social emotional development, part of the study, we know how critical it is for project-based work where children are collaborating in inquiry groups. There's a lot of great dynamic interaction in the IB classroom. And the concern of overuse of AI is that we lose all that magic that we get in IB classrooms. We could potentially lose the co-creation of ideas, the collaboration to generate knowledge, and also their authentic voice. I'm skipping down to that because what's really prominent in IB educators' mind is how do we maintain or how do we ensure the authenticity of the children's voices coming through in their work? And we'll give you some strategies about that. They also found socially that children, when they interact too much with the AI, they have some difficulty managing disagreements. And there's a simple explanation for that. The AI does not challenge them. It does not talk back to them. It doesn't have a different point of view. So we need to still maintain developing those social and emotional skills and balancing that use of AI. And again, what are we using it for? We're using it to enhance knowledge, to stimulate inquiry. Agency, over-dependency on the AI will make the students feel as though they don't have autonomy, they may not be as efficient, and it can erode their self-confidence. So this quote states, the utility, efficiency, comfort, and ease of the use of AI presents a particularly acute existential risk. When a technology can seemingly do everything, it becomes easier, even seemingly logical, for humans to do nothing. So we always have to maintain a sense of agency. The students have to feel that sense of agency and not let the AI erode that. Again, that's about balance of use. So where do we go from here? Now, I can tell you that, it may be different in your schools, that a majority of IB schools do not have a holistic AI literacy education, but there is an opportunity to integrate this into the curriculum. But the core areas of that curriculum or AI literacy education needs to include how AI functions, the cognitive and emotional impacts on young people. Young people themselves need to be aware of this so they don't abuse or overuse it. We have to give the children strategies to reduce that cognitive offloading, techniques for verifying information, including misinformation, bias, and hallucinations. And we need to let them understand that AI has capabilities, but it has huge limitations as well. So what if we decide not to adopt AI? Well, it's here and it's not going away. It'll continue to move at pace over the following years. Governments that I talk to, number one concern is that digital poverty will exist amongst those who are going through schools that don't wish to adopt AI, and they may face an underskilled future workforce, which would then lead to negative impact on economic growth. There'd be a knowledge deficit because AI and digital learning technologies do provide that extended knowledge beyond the resources we traditionally been using as educators. Low-skilled jobs will be assumed by AI, so they don't have the option of falling back on low-skilled jobs. Higher demand for schools that do embrace technology. Parents are wanting to see that these skills are being taught with balance. And then if we decide to do nothing, we're not fulfilling the IBO strategy for 2032. So now we're going to dig deeper into each of the particular programs in the IB. What I want to start off, at Britannica, we have over the past year and continue to do so, we've had a number of thought leadership roundtable discussions where we brought together PYP, MYP, and DP coordinators and leaders in the IB to answer some key questions. We've had hundreds of IB educators across the globe watch these roundtable discussions and attend webinars such as you're doing yourself. So in one webinar, we asked, how are digital tools transforming student learning experiences in the IB? And I'd like to play some short clip here for you.
How do you, our panelists, think digital tools are transforming student learning experiences in the IB? And I may ask if Bea, would you like to take that one first?
Sure. So I think it's important for us as IB educators to use digital tools. And I think IB is a global curriculum. It provides students easy access. They can be connected with other IB schools. And when I talk about digital tools in the IB, it comes to my mind, especially the projects, the PYP exhibition, the personal project, extended essay, TOK essay, even CAS. So as a librarian, we tend to use those digital tools for them to help in their inquiry process. So sometimes they have prompts that they don't know how to analyze or to specify a little bit better what they're looking for. And those digital tools provide them to create products, create different questions. And I think especially coming from a very inclusive school, the digital tools also provide students different ways to tell the teachers they are learning. So now they can showcase and show and tell in different ways that we had before in the traditional way of studying.
I think the key message there is different ways, the traditional ways we were studying, and of course, all of the opportunities that digital tools present in the context of the IB. However, IB educators do have concerns, and we thought it's best to just address these concerns straight away. Balance and well-being, and that is a concern of the IBO. Again, making sure the human capabilities are protected as well as social emotional well-being. We talked about cognitive deficit as a concern. Safety, GDPR, making sure that the data that goes into any OpenAI system is protected. It's not, if it's an OpenAI system, and that any inappropriate content reaches our students, that all has to be considered. And of course, OpenAI systems, misinformation and disinformation. So how do we navigate that? Also, the shallow tech use. What I'm going to introduce is the notion of deep tech use in the context of the three programs, meaning we're not going to randomly be using different applications if we want it to be truly embedded and have impact. And so we need to think about our own digital ecosystems in our schools. I'm hearing from schools that their ecosystems are very complex. There's a multitude of tools, but when I ask them what impact are they having, a lot of educators can't quite be sure on a more strategic level. They will know and say, well, they use this tool in the classroom to help with this and that, which is wonderful. But do we actually know what impact that tool had? Some tools, yes, there's some impact, but is the impact significant enough in the context of the IB? So think about your current digital ecosystem as we're going through this presentation and just consider what you're using, how many tools you're using, which do you genuinely know are having impact, which of those may be potentially taking more of your time to verify information than they may actually be worth. Now we're going to go first into the PYP. And we need to have some key considerations that we want the AI tool across all the programs to support the IB learner profile. This is really, really important. At PYP level, we may consider when we're choosing AI tools to co-construct which AI tools to use. I did this a year and a half ago. I was teaching a unit of inquiry in the PYP, and I knew that the children were keen to try out some AI tools. And I said, well, let's do a little inquiry into which AI tools would be best, how it's going to help us, what might be some of the things we need to look out for. And children have some wonderfully creative ideas, as we know. We as educators, we need to make sure because they're younger that it's age appropriate, and we need to make sure that younger children as well as all students need to be responsible with the use of AI, but we need to model that for them. Now, this is one of the slides we're going to be sending to you. And what this is these are some strategies that you can use as a PYP educator to know if the AI you're using is truly enhancing teaching and learning in the PYP. As we look across the important areas that PYP educators will be looking to see that there is progress through the use of AI, making sure that student agency and inquiry, the ATL skills are being developed, there's deeper conceptual understanding, that the AI tool could perhaps help the students or the teachers to differentiate any resources and making sure all diverse learners can access it. Also looking at how does the AI tool inspire creativity and innovation, and is it being used ethically, and does it promote digital citizenship? So within each of those headings, there are some strategies that you can use to check if the AI tool you're using is truly enhancing teaching and learning. And this is another slide you will get. This is an example. This is a real unit of work, how the world works. The central idea is intelligent systems can help us explore and understand the environment. And then you can see there that they're going to explore by using an AI-powered simulation to simulate weather conditions to determine what patterns emerge and how does AI make predictions. And indeed, does AI make the right predictions? So you'll get a copy of this as an example of a lesson, of a unit of inquiry. It's just one of probably so many that we can generate. Now, one of our roundtable discussions, we asked PYP coordinators asking them, how does digital tech integrate? What are they saying about the integration of digital technology in the PYP? And I'll play that for you.
And just sort of looking more into how it's fostering deeper inquiry and curiosity in PYP classrooms, it'd be great to get your practical, specific experiences in terms of that element of IB teaching. So, Jenna, it'd be great to hear how that's being done in your classroom.
Yeah, so in our classrooms, so we're using, like I said, we use Britannica when we're focusing on our ATLs when it comes to research and disseminating information correctly and curating.
So what is most important there, aside from Britannica getting a lovely mention, is digital technology to support the ATL skills. And the educators do agree. And we will be sending you copies of these roundtable discussions, links, sorry, should you wish to view them for your own further learning. Now let's go into the MYP. Key considerations in the context of the MYP, they become a bit more complex because the students are older. So the key areas that you need to consider when integrating AI in the context of the MYP is the integrity and the purpose. Does it support inquiry, reflection, authentic learning? Use AI to enhance these skills, not replace student thinking. Assessment and authenticity, that I've heard from MYP educators that some AI tools, well, particularly Britannica's AI tool, can produce some lovely forms of assessment that will help through the MYP process, and also for the all-important personal project that the digital tool with information can be trusted can support indeed the personal project and the personal essay at the end, the extended essays and the DP can support as well. But also you need to consider your policy and your practices, again, the ethical and responsible use, and equity and access. These are all really important. So in terms of assessing the impact of AI in enriching the learning experience in the MYP, these are more strategies. You'll get a copy of this slide. To how do you measure it? How do you measure that they're progressing with the inquiry process, that they have deeper conceptual understanding, that the ATL skills are developing, and that work they do has academic integrity, as I mentioned, particularly important for the personal essay coupled with the personal project. This is an example of an MYP lesson where there is AI integration. And the statement of inquiry is innovative systems use models to solve real-world challenges, but require human judgment to interpret and apply. I chose this as an example because I really love the way they're looking at the human capability coupled with the use of AI in order to inquire into scientific and technical innovation. You'll get a copy of this as well. Now let's see what MYP educators are saying about digital tech integration in the MYP.
Yeah, I think the focus on concepts is very important, and something students can struggle with in interdisciplinary learning is applying like a new conceptual or disciplinary lens to what they're looking at. And so AI can act as kind of a knowledgeable partner in that. And if they are trained by teachers to use prompts in a way that helps them shift that lens, I think it can be really valuable. And it can empower certain thinking routines, things like circle of viewpoints from like Zero Project, so they can go through that thinking routine with the AI as their partner and shift their ideas, shift their perspectives, and open themselves up to some new ideas potentially through that.
Now, what was really important for me is the deepening of the conceptual understanding and the teachers guiding on the prompt writing so that the information generated. I know this sounds like a lot on the teachers. To some extent, of course, there is that element, right, where facilitators and guiding and hopefully your schools will support through some professional development and upskilling to help the children achieve the best out of using AI in any of the programs. So now we're going to go into the DP. And DP educators have a number of key considerations as well. So I'll just read the headings. You'll get this slide as well. But they need to consider the core of IB integrity expectations. We're looking more in terms of the extended essay, demonstrating authentic student voice and thinking. There should be permissible AI support. So when is it permissible for them to be using AI in the context of the DP, and when is it not? So that's your non-permissible AI use. That's a very good strategy to have, so it's clear. Making sure that the supervisor responsibilities, so that's really meaning supervise, looking over what they're using it for. There was one DP educator who told me, coordinator, that when they're writing the extended essay, they would ask them to map their journey, how and where they've used the AI to support their research and acquisition of knowledge, to defend that orally through oral questioning if they understood their AI journey. So why did you use the AI there? What was the outcome of using the AI? What do you think? Has it helped you or has it hindered you? So assessing authenticity is critically important, as well as citations, and they must cite and disclose where they've got their information from, because we want to avoid plagiarism. Now, in terms of AI integration in the extended essay, You will also get a copy of this as well as the previous slide. And the topic was biology. To what extent can generative AI-based image recognition improve the invasive plant species in a local ecosystem? So the AI model would classify plant images, and then the student will compare the AI results to manually identifying that. This is where human judgment and critical thinking comes into play, because while AI can produce some interesting resources for them to consider, this is an opportunity where the children can see what the AI has produced and compare in real life and say, wait a minute, this is where it may be limited, or maybe it's helped me to think about something in another way. So we need to remember that it needs to enhance inquiry, not shortcut it. And so now we're just going to have a little look at what DP educators are saying about digital tech integration.
Yeah, there are a few kind of words that I think have come out from colleagues here that I think we perhaps need to zoom in on. And one of them is about being a tool. And I think that's something that we really need to make sure students are consciously aware of, that it is a tool in their armory. It is not the only way of learning. And if it becomes the default, then that's at risk of kind of impeding their critical thinking or their learning in more broadly. So in terms of setting students up for success as lifelong learners, I think we all recognize it's here to stay, but it's very much about how you use that. As Husna was saying, you know, all students are different. We recognize we need to differentiate for the students in front of us, but we also need to make sure that students are using it meaningfully as a kind of a sounding partner to deepen their thinking and deepen their understanding.
And I think Simon has summed that up absolutely beautifully. It's a tool. It's a tool, but it can be a very powerful tool. It's all on how it's used. So how can you begin? I think a few minutes ago, I said, if you think about your digital ecosystem. Now let's talk about, okay, we have to be very strategic. How do we begin to integrate AI within our schools with intent and impact? Very important to do an audit of what you currently have. Then think about, what would you like teaching and learning to look like now and in the future within your schools? What are you already using? How effective do you think it is? Do you want to adopt more tools, and why? How are you going to prepare the teachers? And then how are you going to go about consistent implementation in a way that it's deeply embedded? And I always say to IB schools, less is more. Because when we're strategic, less can produce far greater results for us. I hear a lot of educators say students live in a world of AI. How do we as educators model best practices when using AI? Well, we need to model ethical and transparent use. We need to think aloud together with our students and evaluate AI critically. It's a partner, not an authority. We have to ask big questions. What evidence does the information support? We need to make sure that the AI is in alignment with the ATL skills, research, thinking, communication, and self-management particularly. And we need to continually foster agency. Students need to know that they can design their prompts to get what they need, and they have the power to critique the AI, not take the AI at its word. So we need to guide the students to use AI critically, ethically, and creatively, but not perfectly. And I've done a lot of code construction in deciding which AI tools to use with students. And just when we reflect and grow together, it's incredible what we can achieve. And so how can AI be used to produce problem-solving and reasoning-based assessments to enhance skills for the future? This is a huge area of discussion in the IB global education arena, as well as across the world in other schools. We have to think about one critical thing here, and AI tools that use OpenAI sources must be checked for accuracy. That's not only true with assessment generation, that's with any information that they produce. So we can use AI to create problem-solving and reasoning assessments, as I mentioned before, but here's some specific examples, and we'll give you this slide as well. They can now produce inquiry and scenario-based questions, and children have to think about real-world practical solutions, which align with the IB. They can produce reasoning questions in the form of multi-step logical thinking tasks, explain your reasoning questions, differentiation at your fingertips when it's done correctly, and It can also produce draft rubrics linked to the IB objectives and also checking on cognitive demand balance, adding reflection or metacognition prompts. We'll share this with you as well. So we're moving into the part of why would you even think about Britannica? We work with hundreds of IB schools across the world. As I said, we've been engaged with our thought leadership approaches, and quite frankly, IB educators are really engaging and wanting more of our discussions in creating forums where teachers can explore this topic. We know that our solutions support inquiry-based learning. We know that it's strengthening the approaches to ATL. We have content going back over our 250-year history where we have been fighting misinformation, disinformation. Our information is edited and vetted and updated every 20 minutes. We have AI tools integrated into our solutions, and they're worry-free solutions because we're not based on an open AI platform. All the content comes from Britannica. We're told because of the multimedia and differentiated resources that motivate IB students in support diverse learning styles, enhances engagement, that our AI-driven teacher tool empowers teachers to save time, and that we have a safe, ethical digital learning sphere which educators and students can thrive. And this is an overview of our thought leadership series with the titles. We'll send you this. A lot of educators are using this as opportunities for professional learning and professional development, and quite a few IB schools are actually showing these roundtable discussions within their inset days. And so you may want to consider this as well. They're free for use because you've come to this webinar. So in conclusion, before I hand over to Christopher, I just leave you with a thought. Despite the challenges, there are many opportunities to enhance teaching and learning through the use of AI. Teachers and school leaders need to be strategic in its use. AI serves us, we do not serve it, and technology use is not a pedagogy, but a tool we must use carefully and utilize in the educational context. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Christopher. I will stop sharing.
Well, thank you very much, Laura, for that fascinating whirlwind tour of AI in the IB. I think we can all agree that some of the insights there and the thoughts are most illuminating in this era. But what we're going to look at now, and where Laura has nicely segued me to, is what is Britannica's response to this, and how are we, as an education technology provider, supporting teachers with AI tools that truly add classroom value and that really help teachers get to the point of their teaching without adding extra noise and without adding distractions or information risks. And our response to this looks a lot like Britannica Studio. And what we want to talk about today is resource creation and really what Laura said about being within the closed source and not open AI arena, is that what Britannica Studio can do is help and support in creating teacher and student resources to support inquiry learning and to really drive the central tenets of IB education in this crowded and noisy world featuring AI. So we've got here 6 tools. We have 5 standalone tools, plus Build It, Teach It, which is the workflow management tool. So what I'm going to highlight is the fact that Assess It, which builds assessment, Vocabulary Builder, which builds vocabulary banks and quizzes, Summarize It, which does summaries, and Level It, which does instant and accurate differentiation across multiple levels, as well as Passage Builder, are all standalone tools. They support your own school resources. They will support and work with IB resources, but they also work with the Britannica database and our internal resources. But today we're going to start with Build It, Teach It, and we're going to build a complete workflow. Now, just for time and for speed, I prepared earlier some prompts that I'm going to show you. I've got one prompt for the MYP and I've got one prompt for DYP. And I really want to show you how these 2 levels can be engaged. There we are. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. So we're going to start somewhere around grade 7. We're going to go for short. And I've copied the prompt in here. So what I'm asking it for, and this prompt styling is actually in collaboration with some of our other colleagues across the globe who have really been probing the depths of how to speak to Britannica Studio and how to really push it. So this is tailored for IB MYP. So I've asked it for a thought-provoking passage exploring the relationship between energy consumption, climate change, and human responsibility. I've told it to include discussion of renewable and non-renewable sources, to include governments and individual choices, how these impact the environment. Now, here is the filter that really supports IB. So connect the topic to the IB context of globalization and sustainability. And then, in addition, I've told it some further things like using academic English suitable for multilingual learners to drive classroom inquiry and discussion. So this is just one facet of how we can use Britannica Studio. Within the AI capabilities, though, to support teachers, there are suggested additional topics. So everyone loves a UN SDG, so we'll add that. And we'll add 2 others just to really show that it helps the teachers to think beyond and it helps students to inquire beyond what they maybe understand as possible. So as we'll click generate, we're going to use a short passage today because in our experience, the long passages can be very long and very robust. But what we've discovered with Britannica Studio is actually there's 2 tracks with which to use this. The first track that we all used was building resources to give to students. So using the initial passage builder, you could build reading passages to support them in the classroom. But actually, the other way we've discovered it can be used is it can use the Britannica corpus of information to build teacher-fronted guides and teacher explanations. So that this doesn't necessarily get shown to the student, but it helps the teacher to inform their teaching and what they're going to take into the classroom. So here you can see it's constructed this passage for me. It's broken up into subheadings. So understanding renewable and non-renewable energy, consumption and the greenhouse effect. So it's giving me the relationships that I've asked for in the prompt. It's not doing it as standalone. It really has built it into the relationships. So this UN SDGs and climate action, this was one of the filters I asked for it. This is the second one. And then it's gone back to the prompt. So it's building it up in what it believes to be the most effective structure. And here we come down, environmental ethics, individual actions, and globalization. And this was the area where I told it to focus on the IB global context. So you can see here, it's taken these first 2 and it's tied it in with the IB curriculum focus that I asked for. So this is great. What it's also provided me was all the sourcing. What we find actually is because sometimes it's a bit of a faff with Britannica resources, teachers don't want to have to go and search through and have to pool their own resources. But actually, if you prompt through Studio, it gives you all the sources pre-packaged and ready to go into the classroom. So you can use these for further study, extended reasoning exercises, and really to drive the students in their own inquiry and understanding. So this is the passage that we've asked it for. I should highlight that with Britannica Studio, absolutely within the ecosystem, able to go in, fully edit. We support teacher in control. We're not in the business of replacing teachers. We want to support them. And the editability features throughout all the tools are a key tenet of that. So now we're going to go on to our other tools, and we're going to start with assessments. One of the great enhancements we've had to Britannica Studio in the last month is multi-formatting of assessments. So this can really support your formative and your summative assessments. So we're going to go for 3 types today. 15 questions. So I've asked it for filling in of blanks, multiple choice, and the written response questions. So obviously, if you're making this passage for teachers, you perhaps wouldn't need to do this, but I've asked this to be a classroom-fronted passage. So we're going to make the assessments. And here it is building up our assessments for us. So that's super quick. So you can see here for the fill in the blank, it's given me 10 questions plus the answers at the top to fill in. Multiple choice, exactly how you'd expect it. And then written response. This is a really important tool because with written response, we can really probe extended reasoning and ask them more complicated questions. And to support the teachers, the answer key comes with answer plus explanation. So it's not just telling you this is the answer, it's telling you why. Further to that, it will give you model answers and explanations for written responses. So this really cuts out teachers having to faff around, and it really starts to help trim down that preparation time, because this can go straight into the classroom. But as with everything, like I showed you, the teacher can go in and you can edit. So you can change, you can reorder, and you can make it to suit your own classroom's needs. So perhaps you want to make it a bit simpler. You maybe want to make it a bit less obvious to really test the students, and Studio supports the teachers to do that. The next tool, I'm going to leave level it to the end because I think the best for last. We all need differentiation. Summarize it. Everybody needs a summary. I like a nice table summary. One of the comments we often get when showing this is that some open sourcing tools struggle to produce accurate tables. However, we can assure you that within Studio, tables are accurate all the time. So you can see here, it's given me just a very simple title, key details, and an explanation. So teachers can deploy this in a variety of ways. So revision, or just take home summaries to help students review. This will also provide you some images to back up the topic. That's always nice. Some visual learners will be really supported by this. And once again, the sourcing will match the initial article because it's all tied together. Within Summarize it, you're also able to have paragraphs and bullets, so you can make all three depending on what your class responds to or what you think is best for the topic at hand. The next thing I'll show you is the vocabulary builder. I think teachers working in any international setting know that the first gateway to any topic is always vocabulary. You can't go anywhere without pre-teaching the critical vocabulary. So Britannica Studio helps to pull that bank together instantaneously without any additional burden to the teacher. So you can see it's given me the word, obviously vital. It's given the part of speech. Many tools don't do this now. It's giving me the definition from our good colleagues at Merriam-Webster, the dictionary, and giving us an example sentence. Fabulous. It's also given a quiz. Many teachers like to use this as a review or as a homework exercise. And then you can see all our sources are coming from the dictionary. And if you were to click these links, you'd be taken out to your full and included access of the Merriam-Webster's online dictionary with Britannica. The final tool, and I think all international educators, myself included, should be the most excited about differentiation. It's one of the most challenging things to prep and organize for a class, and open-sourced AI tools do not do it well. They have a habit of pulling in additional material, deleting critical information, and it's just not accurate or reliable. So with Britannica Studio, you remember the initial resource was at grade 7 level. So let's say we're going to have some students performing above level and we're going to have some performing below level. So we can select up to 3 at a time and we're going to generate. So this is, again, a one-stop shop to support your students as they need to be supported. And it's not going to add any additional time to your preparation or to your lesson planning. You can create these resources exactly as fast as you've just seen it. So you can see we've got our grade 5 resource there. We're going slightly below, and then it will make a grade 6 also slightly below, and then grade 8 as above. Many people fall into the trap of thinking that differentiation is only about going down, and that's not true at all. In many cases, there are students in classes who need differentiated up, and Britannica Studio really does excel at being able to push resources up and down some distance in the differentiation categories. And once again, all the editability is in there. So perhaps you only want to take a small piece of this, or you want to blend passages together. You're absolutely able to do that within Britannica Studio. Finally, the key actions. I'll show you the exportability to support the teachers. So you can go to Word, PDF, or to Google Drive. Very shortly, the plugin will be available to go directly to Google Classroom. And then you can choose what you want, because obviously maybe we don't want to give the students answer keys. And then you can export at will. So that is the basic overview of Britannica Studio. Something else I want to highlight with all of these tools is that they're not just Britannica centric. Some people think that because it's a Britannica tool, we only want you to use Britannica resources, and that's not true at all. What you can do with these tools, with assessments, with Level It, with Summarize It, is you can add in your own school resources. So for the IB, it's obviously very resource driven in some areas. And we don't want to mess around with that. We deal with a lot of schools, not just IB curriculums. And they have their own curriculum, they have their resources, and the idea of having to upend that is quite simply a nightmare. So at Britannica, we're here to support you and to come alongside your institution. So what you can do with these is you can paste in your own text up to 5,000 words. So yeah, you've got your great resource, you love teaching from it, and the students love it. So you paste it in here, nice and simple. You can do the same with Summarize It. You can do the same with the Passage Builder. You can paste in any prompt or any request you want. It doesn't have to come from Britannica. So this is Britannica Studio and how it will support any curriculum, but it will support very specifically the IB curriculum. Our colleagues have done a lot of work with the prompts and with showing you how it can. I think I'll speak to Laura and we'll include some of the example prompts with the pack that goes out to really support you understanding, because I know we're short of time. So I hope that you have all got a suitable understanding. And I think, Laura, if we want to move to Q&A so we don't keep these lovely people for too long.
Yes, indeed. We currently don't have any from our participants, and we do have a moment. We could take another question. I know it's a lot of information to take in. In previous webinars, we know for sure that educators have wanted to explore more the information in the webinar, and we will be sending you a pack, as Christopher said again. Teddy, we will be sending the materials via email. Yes, we will. We have your email from your registration. And also, you're most welcome. We will be at the end, as soon as you exit this webinar, there is this extremely important, very quick feedback survey that we would like from you, because we'd like to be able to adapt and have a part two that we would find most useful for educators for the professional learning. I'm not seeing, apparently there are some questions in the
Yeah, I was
Q&A,
just
but
going to
I
say,
can't see
Laura,
them.
I've got one question that I think you should definitely pick up on. The presentation file will be shared. Yeah, you've covered that, but here's a good pedagogical question. How do you ensure AI enhances rather than replaces students' critical and creative thinking?
Right. There's a simple answer, but it's very challenging to do. It's in the prompt writing. Okay. So if we ask the AI, when was the Battle of Waterloo, for example, it's going to give us a date. But if we ask the AI, what were some of the key factors that led to, say, the Battle of Waterloo, it will then give some information, but then the student has to sort of analyze that and think about strategically, well, what were the geopolitical conflicts, or who was engaged with what was happening in the context of the time. So the prompts have to be written in such that the AI is supplying information that the student can think critically about and make a determination of whether or not it is actually supporting the inquiry they're engaged in, the personal essay question their engagement, or the extended essay question. It's all about that prompt writing, first and foremost. Does Britannica have Education have a teacher and student portal? So I think Christopher, and yes, will they be given an e-certificate? Ronald is asking.
Yes, we are set up to provide attendance certificates to support your PD credits. Not a problem. Those will be forthcoming. And yeah, so Britannica Education Portal. Yes, we do have portals supporting both teacher and students. This is called My Britannica. And once your institution has set up the subscriptions and the accesses, teachers and students can sign up through their institutional IDs. And what happens then is educators and teachers get directed into that side, which then comes with the enhanced resources like Teach Britannica. Both teachers and students get the opportunity to be able to build resource packs and access to really develop their own Britannica ecosystem that's personal to their learning journey.
Are there any other questions that I may not be seeing?
Yeah, just more requests to share the webinar and materials afterwards. So yes, we have recorded the webinar. We won't necessarily be sharing the entire webinar, but the highlight clips will be published in due course.
Typically what we do if requested, I think if they want the entire webinar to be viewed within their school, Christopher, for professional development purposes, I think we can do that. So we could talk about that. We do that in other regions. We'll have a discussion internally with Britannica. I just wanted to see if that's what you might
Yeah,
do.
I'm just going to say, if you ask in the feedback form to be contacted, then we will be able to reach out and handle this request.
Great. That's great. Thank you. Are subscriptions based on school account or individual student account? Someone's asking. I think that's Felix is asking that.
Sorry, I was typing an answer. Are subscriptions based on school account or individual student accounts? So we typically do subscriptions based on FTE. But if you want to discuss the terms of this further, then please say so in the feedback form, and one of our lovely BDMs will be able to reach out to you and help to tailor a solution that's suited to your institution's needs.
I understand. I understand there's another question in the Q&A tab that I cannot see.
Let me just have a look. Yes. So, this is a good one. With the enhanced MYP curriculum coming in, how is Britannica Studio planning to integrate the same with that?
Right. Okay. Well, I'm aware that there are enhancements to the MYP. I've actually downloaded the document. Have I had a chance to read it yet? No. I think the question is how would Britannica Studio integrate with the MYP? If you're talking about enhancement to e-assessments with the MYP, of which I'm aware the e-assessments, I think they're going to become more reasoning and problem solving based in the MYP. MYP educators are telling us that Britannica Studio can produce, and we know it can, problem solving scenario based questions that can support practice, prior practice leading up to those e-assessments, because it can produce very similar questions for the students to be able to practice. In terms of curricular related support, any enhancement to scope and sequence for each of the disciplinary subjects or the interdisciplinary subjects, I know for sure because I've checked it. Studio does support all curricula, even given enhancements, because of the wealth of information we've got, the knowledge we've got. There are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of articles and content that can fit within any and support any curricula globally, including the MYP. So yes, are there any other questions that we have?
Nope, I have typed a couple of answers for the sake of speed.
Right.
Someone's asked, do you have a representative in Indonesia? Yes, we don't just have one, we have a team in Indonesia. So if you fill in the feedback form, we will be able to put you in touch with them. They're a crack team in Indonesia. I'm sure they will be very happy to help you.
Indeed.
I think that is everything.
That's fantastic. Yes. And so, as we said, feedback highly valued. Thank you for the lovely comments. I'm so pleased. It gives me the greatest joy to see that many of you found it informative and insightful, and we really appreciate that feedback. And yes, if you would like us to contact you further to have a conversation with you about how our solutions, particularly Studio, can fit the needs of your school, the survey will pop out. As soon as you leave the webinar, Ronald, the survey will pop up in front of you, and it will take just a couple of minutes, if that. Thank you, everyone. It was an absolute pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you very much, Laura, for your time and your invaluable expertise and sharing it with us. So yes, thank you very much to all our panelists. And one final reminder to the joinees is please, yes, the automatic survey as soon as this webinar closes, if you want reached out to, or for our own benefit as we improve our messaging and our webinars for the future, please take 2 minutes to do that. We would be very appreciative. Thank you, everyone, and have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.